NASCAR on NBC, live from the Chicagoland Speedway, where 400 miles of high-speed action is about to get underway for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, the race that brings the chase for the championship to the midway point of the 2004 campaign. 43 drivers in their cars fired up on pit road. They'll roll out onto the racetrack in just a moment.
65!
Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, proud to sponsor the Budweiser Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier at each NASCAR Nextel Cup Series race. And for a third time, Jeff Gordon has done it here, as he has set a new track record in qualifying for this Chicagoland race. In fact, Jeff Gordon, his fourth straight pole, fifth overall this season. Since 1979, Budweiser has been passing out a lot of money to drivers in the Budweiser Pole Award. Here's our starting lineup for today's race. Jeff Gordon on pole with Casey Kane, trying to get that first win so desperately. He's alongside.
That's a real shock that Casey Kane would qualify well. He and Jeff Gordon dominated pole position qualifying this year.
Jimmy Johnson, championship leader, and the sensational rookie Brian Vickers, Hendrick Motorsports teammates in row number 2. In fact, Hendrick with 3 of the top 4 qualifiers out of that team shots.
A couple of Roush Fords in row 3. Greg Biffle, Jeff Burton. Let's try talking to Jeff Burton. And hey, Jeff Burton, Benny Parsons, you got me?
How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, Jeff. It's been a good while since you've won. Tell me how you're going to do it today.
Hopefully we got this Comcast board set up the way we need it to be. It's real sunny and hot today. Hadn't had these conditions yet. Hopefully we can take what we learned in the Busch race yesterday and apply that. Put ourselves in position when it counts.
Did you change the car any from yesterday's race to today's race? What you learned yesterday, did you use it to change the car for today?
A little bit of it, not a lot. I tell you what surprised me was how much the outside groove came in yesterday. You could really run up high in 1 and 2. I think you'll see a lot more of that today. Much wider track than we've seen here in the past. I think you'll see a lot of side-by-side racing. And we took that into account on some of our changes, and hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of it.
Well, Jeff, good luck today.
Jeff Burton with his best starting spot of the season. He's outside of row number 3 in search of that elusive victory. Continuing to look at the starting lineup for today's race, Terry Labonte, his son Justin, won yesterday. Can Dad make it a double on the weekend today? And Dale Earnhardt Jr., second in the championship chase, a little bit farther down the grid. He struggled here this weekend. Transmission failure in yesterday's final practice. They need some good things to happen today to stay up with Jimmy Johnson.
A couple of Fords back in row 15, Jarrett and Rudd.
John Andretti back this weekend, the third car out of the Dale Earnhardt Incorporated stables. And now down to the drivers who got the final spots on time for this race and on-off into provisional land. Mickey Craven, Dave Blaney back in row 18. Michael Waltrip had some troubles on Friday. His car had been handling one way all during practice Friday. When he qualified, it handled just the opposite. He wasn't ready for it.
And that's exactly what Wally talked about in the opening.
That's right. He may have gotten that set of tires that just did not complement that car. That's going to catch some guys today. We need to really stay on top of that.
And P.J. Jones with the final spot in the field on a provisional. And just a few drivers unable to qualify for the race. Todd Bodine, Greg Sachs, Kirk Shelmerdine. You see drivers moving to the back. Most of them were starting toward the back anyway. And NASCAR's one engine per weekend rule comes into play there. Let's get some final stories from pit road before we go green. Dave, lead us off.
Well, Alan, yesterday in final practice, Brian Vickers had the fastest car on the racetrack. Now, some people say that number doesn't mean anything. But when you're 20 years old, you're a rookie, you're driving for one of the most successful Nextel Cup owners in history, that means a lot. Anytime you're first on the track is a great motivator. Brian starts 4th today and has a very fast race car. Matt?
Like every other driver, Casey Mears' season began at Daytona, but his season didn't really come together until he scored a 7th at Texas. He has since rattled off 5 more top 10 finishes. He told me this morning he is extremely jacked up about his chances, not only for a good run today, but his shot at his first Nextel Cup Series win. He said his only problem with his race car, an aero-tight condition in final practice, but judging by the Busch race, he feels like a second groove will work in, and that will go right to him and his shot at a win. To Marty Snyder.
Matt, don't let the fact that Michael Waltrip starts 39th fool you, because Slugger Labby, the crew chief, told me this morning the car is so good we could even win from back there. And a win would be the perfect start to what already promises to be a great week for Michael this week. Tomorrow, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated will announce that Napa and Michael Waltrip are back for the 2005 season. Mikey will be in the 15 car next year. Bill?
Marty, Michael Waltrip does not yet know what it's like to win a Nextel Cup Series championship. Jeff Gordon knows what it's like to win a championship in this sport. He's won 4 of them. This season, he's chasing his 5th, but it would be the first time he would be a Nextel Cup Series champion. What's that going to be like? A new format, new challenges. 9 races to Richmond to decide which drivers will compete for the Nextel Cup. That race is just moments away from beginning. Alan?
Okay, Bill, thanks. And we are less than a lap from the green flag. While you're checking out today's race on the television, you can log on to NBCSports.com for more on NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing. Benny Parsons with his writings and musings there. And he's got a lot more on NASCAR's hot topics, including the chase for the Nextel Cup. NBCSports.com. 9 races to go till that cutoff point.
Oh, man, this is going to be so exciting. Trying to figure out the top 10 qualifiers to battle for the first NASCAR Nextel Cup.
And we got to be careful here, because this is a fast racetrack, mile-and-a-half racetrack. The way these guys have to get these cars balanced to be good at the end of a run is they have to be neutral to more on the loose side. These first few laps are going to be really, really tense for these drivers, because they're not going to have that grip in the car until those tires get up there on pressure. So they're going to have to be really careful. Give guys a lot of room here.
And when you're talking about loose, the possibility of spinning out down in the corners.
The race analysis, 267 laps on this mile-and-a-half track to make up the 400-mile distance. Fuel mileage probably going to factor in somewhere near the end of this thing. And the last red flag lap, NASCAR won't stop the race after the leader has completed lap 263 in order to try and get a green flag finish. I guess that roar is all you need to know, huh? Pace car's off. And it is time to start today's NASCAR Nextel Cup Series race on NBC. We're underway.
Now, you know, they say it's not important to lead the first lap, but on these type of tracks, you want to be out front. So if you can get out front quick, it's going to be better for the aerodynamics of your car.
Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane racing for that top spot.
Jimmy Johnson taking a look. Taking a look on a 9-car Casey Kane. Can't pull it off.
Gordon leads lap 1, Kane is 2nd, Johnson is 3rd, Greg Biffle is 4th, and 5th is Brian Vickers. Tony Stewart trying to pick up some spots.
Picked up some spots by the looks of it. He went way high and got right up against the wall. Looks like he passed a few of them.
Going by Ryan Newman on the outside as we look on board Ryan Newman's car, Tony Stewart going down the backstretch to turn 3. Early on, all these guys will run right on the bottom of the racetrack with these cold, fresh tires. But as Jeff Burton talked about, they will be moving up as the laps progress.
Tony started 10th. He's up to 7th now. And just in front of Ryan Newman. And running just behind Mike Bliss, driving the 3rd Joe Gibbs Racing entry this weekend, number 80. That'll be the car Tony tries to catch next. You see Bliss left of the screen, normally runs the NASCAR Busch Series for Joe Gibbs. They've had this 3rd R&D team that they've brought out a couple of times a year every year, and it's out here this weekend, and Bliss really qualified well. In fact, he was the highest qualified of the 3 Joe Gibbs cars. He outran Tony Stewart and he outran Bobby Labonte.
And that's what the R&D deal is all about, is trying to try different things that the other guys can't, because you're in a points run. So they're learning a lot, and it's paying off.
Dale Jr., Rusty Wallace back in traffic. They're racing for 22nd and 23rd.
Jr. started 25th, so he has moved up a couple of spots. Tony Stewart goes by Bliss. Here comes Ryan Newman in the 12 car going by Bliss in 80.
So that puts Tony up to 6th. Newman taking 7th, and here comes Jeff Burton in the 99.
It doesn't look like Mike Bliss in that 80 car can keep the car down on that bottom like the other cars right now. And that's going to hurt him, because he's going to have some guys passing him.
Check this Casey Mears driving up on the outside of Jeff Burton and trying to take that spot away. Already they're up on the top side of the racetrack.
Now, if the 80 car is loose with Mike Bliss, he does not want the 41 car behind him. He may be moving up that racetrack or using that higher line because he's loose, and it looks like he is a little bit loose right there.
Loose when the front end grips better than the back end, and the back end wants to come around on you when you're turning left. This is hanging tough on Newman.
41 needs to get down.
Looks like that 41 car is pretty fast if he gets the bottom of the racetrack. There he comes.
It's Casey Mears in the 41 sliding down. Ryan Newman trying to get the spot away from Mike Bliss. Dave, how about Newman?
Alan, in practice yesterday, they went from very, very tight to loose on the car. They thought maybe just a little bit too loose, so they tightened that car up this morning by making a track bar adjustment, also taking camber out of the left front tire. But that side-by-side racing, Wally, I don't think you prepare for that nearly as much as you prepare for your car being alone on the track.
Well, that's exactly right. When you're out there trying to get a balance on the car in practice, you're out there by yourself. And until you're happy with the balance of the car, you don't go out and run in traffic. A lot of these guys are running in traffic for the first time with their race setup.
Casey Mears in the 41, Bakersfield, California native. Picks up a spot, moves him up to 9th.
And last time Mears in the 41 pulled up behind Mike Bliss in the 80 as he pulled up right behind him, really got him loose, and Bliss had to chase the car off the racetrack and back off the throttle, which allowed Casey Mears to drive by.
Elliott Sadler on the move there, 38 car to the inside. And behind them, Kevin Harvick, 29, trying to get a spot on Jamie McMurray in the 42.
That's 12th and 13th. The 29 is in 13th. That's Harvick.
Sorry, I was just going to say Chad Blunt just took the 37 car into the garage. So he's out after just a couple laps.
What are they saying about the 29 there, Marty?
Well, Harvick hasn't said a word on the radio so far, Wally, but this is not the car that he won 2 races here with. The same car that he won Indianapolis with, as we've had a battle for 3rd. But this is a brand new car for Kevin Harvick. They ran that car that won all those races 6 times this year, put 2 new bodies on it, and now have scrapped it. This is a new car for Harvick.
And Greg Biffle, the 16 car, goes by Jimmy Johnson, goes into the 3rd spot. And remember how well that Greg Biffle ran in California back in late April, early May. A racetrack very similar to this, huh, Bill?
Absolutely, Benny. In fact, talking to their crew this morning, and crew chief Doug Richard, he wanted cloud cover. He wanted a cooler day because they're better in cooler weather. But they said this car is good. It is the California car. It said this car gives his driver confidence on this type of track. They tried to make it a little bit better, but they had confidence in the car and in the driver when the green flag fell.
And Bill Weber, that is real important when you're a race car driver, because if a race car driver has confidence in one of those cars, these guys have a lot of cars to work with, but if you like a race car and you're confident with that car, man, that is a huge plus when you go racing.
And all of a sudden, the Nextel Cup points leader, Jimmy Johnson, seems to be struggling. Biffle goes by, now Tony Stewart goes by.
So Jimmy Johnson back to 5th. And Bill talked about teams that wanted cloud cover. There are clouds moving in, and there are rainstorms on the radar. We don't want that. We'll hope that stays away from us so we can get this thing in full distance. Tony Stewart, Matty.
Tony Stewart on the move, and it's not a surprise. You look at the last 2 years here at Chicagoland, a 2nd and a 3rd, and he has led over 125 laps. Now, Tony's car was a little free in the final practice session. They made some slight shock adjustment, tightened him up, and he is on the move. His teammate, the 80, Mike Bliss, extremely loose, guys.
It looked it, man. I mean, you can tell when the car's up on the top side of the racetrack early like that and doesn't want anybody behind you, that's because he is loose.
Jeff Gordon leads. Casey Kane is 2nd, followed by Greg Biffle, Tony Stewart, and Jimmy Johnson. We're just underway here at Chicagoland Speedway. You're watching NASCAR on NBC.